I still remember the day my parents crushed my dreams. I was 22, fresh out of business school with honors, ready to join our family's restaurant chain. Montgomery Family Restaurants had been my grandfather's legacy, built from a single diner into a successful chain of 50 restaurants across 3 states. I'd worked in those restaurants since I was 14, learning every position from dishwasher to manager. "The business is going to your sister," Dad announced during what I thought would be my welcome to the company dinner. "Sarah has the right attitude for success." I stared at my pasta, suddenly losing my appetite. Sarah, my 25-year-old sister, smirked from across the table. She'd never worked a day in the restaurants, spending her time shopping and posting on social media about being a future CEO. "But Dad," I protested, my voice shaking. "I've worked in the restaurants for years. I have a business degree. I know every aspect of." "That's enough, Claire," Mom interrupted, her designer bracelet clinking against her wine glass. "Your sister has natural leadership abilities. You're too," she paused, exchanging looks with Dad, "simple for this kind of responsibility." "Simple?" I echoed, feeling like I'd been slapped. "Let's be honest," Sarah chimed in, examining her manicured nails. "You're the type who's happy serving tables. There's nothing wrong with that. Someone has to do it." I looked at Grandpa Jack, hoping he'd say something. He'd always been my biggest supporter, teaching me about business while we worked side by side in his original diner. But he sat silently, his face unreadable as he methodically cut his steak. "It's decided," Dad declared. "Sarah will take over as CEO next month. You can keep your position as floor manager at the downtown location if you want." That night, I cried myself to sleep in my small apartment. All my dreams, all my hard work, dismissed because I wasn't flashy enough, didn't fit their image of success. The next morning, I went to work like always, holding my head high despite the pitying looks from staff who'd heard the news. Months passed. Sarah's leadership mostly involved taking long lunches with friends and posting motivational quotes on the company's social media. I watched in silence as she made questionable decisions, ignoring the advice of experienced managers. Dad backed her every move, even when profits started declining. Then I met James. He came into my restaurant looking for lunch and stayed for 3 hours, fascinated by my passionate explanation of restaurant operations. He was different from anyone I ever met. Brilliant, kind, and genuinely interested in my ideas. A successful tech entrepreneur, he saw value in my simple approach to business. Our whirlwind romance was the bright spot in my increasingly difficult life. Within a year, we were planning our wedding. My family's reaction was predictably condescending. "At least she found someone successful," Mom said when we announced our engagement. "Maybe now she can quit working altogether." "Not likely," Sarah laughed. "Claire loves being a servant." James squeezed my hand under the table, his touch saying what words couldn't. "They don't see your worth, but I do." We planned a small wedding, nothing like the extravaganza Sarah had thrown the year before when she married a local politician's son. My parents contributed the minimum they could without looking bad to their social circle. The morning of my wedding dawned bright and clear. I was in the bridal suite when a courier arrived with a letter. The envelope was thick, expensive paper with "to be delivered to Claire Montgomery on her wedding day," written in familiar handwriting. Grandpa Jack's. My hands trembled as I opened it. Grandpa had passed away 3 months ago, shortly after Sarah took over as CEO. His death had been sudden. A heart attack in his sleep. The family had been surprised when no will was found, just instructions that all assets would be handled by his lawyers. "My dearest Claire," the letter began, "if you're reading this, 2 things have happened. I'm no longer here, and you're marrying someone you love. I'm sorry I won't be there to walk you down the aisle. But I hope this letter will be my final gift to you." Tears blurred my vision as I continued reading. Each word made my heart race faster. "I've watched your parents and sister underestimate you your entire life. They see your kindness as weakness, your attention to detail as simplicity, your hard work as servitude. But I saw something else. I saw myself in you. The same drive, the same understanding of what makes a business truly successful, taking care of your people and your customers. What they don't know," the letter continued, "is that I never actually transferred ownership of Montgomery Family Restaurants to your father. I maintain majority ownership through a holding company, Eagle Ridge Enterprises. Your father managed operations, thinking he owned everything, but he was always just an employee. My hands shook so badly I had to set the letter down for a moment. Eagle Ridge Enterprises. I'd seen that name on documents at work, but never thought much about it. Today, on your wedding day, ownership of Eagle Ridge Enterprises transfers to you, Claire. You are now the majority owner of Montgomery Family Restaurants. The lawyers have all the paperwork ready. Your father, mother, and sister have been employees this whole time, and now they work for you. I had to sit down, my wedding dress rustling around me. There was more. I couldn't stand watching them crush your spirit, but I needed to be sure you were ready. I needed you to learn humility, to understand every aspect of the business from the ground up. Most importantly, I needed you to find someone who valued you for who you are, not what they could get from you. Show them what real leadership looks like, Claire. Show them what you've always been capable of. And remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about rising above. All my love, Grandpa Jack. P.S. There's a board meeting scheduled for Monday morning. Don't be late, CEO. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with an email from Grandpa's lawyers confirming everything. Attached were documents showing the ownership transfer, board meeting agenda, and most surprisingly, evidence of Sarah's mismanagement over the past months. A knock at the door made me jump. Claire, are you ready? It was James. There's something going on outside. Your family's making a scene. I could hear raised voices from the garden where our ceremony was supposed to take place. Taking a deep breath, I squared my shoulders and opened the door. James took one look at my face and knew something had changed. Everything okay? He asked softly. I showed him the letter. His eyes widened as he read, then a slow smile spread across his face. Well, he said, this explains why your father is out there yelling about some emergency board meeting notification he just received. I took his hand, feeling stronger than I had in years. Shall we go deal with this before our wedding? He kissed my forehead. Lead the way, CEO. Walking toward the garden, I could hear Sarah's shrill voice. This has to be a mistake. I'm the CEO. I run this company. I emerged into the sunlight, the letter secure in my hand, ready to show my family exactly what their simple daughter was capable of. Sometimes the best moments in life come precisely when you've been underestimated the most. And this was just the beginning. The garden had fallen silent as I walked down the path, my white wedding dress catching the morning sunlight. Dad was red-faced, clutching his phone, while Mom kept smoothing her designer dress, a nervous habit she had for years. Sarah stood slightly apart, her perfectly made-up face twisted in confusion. What's going on? She demanded as soon as she saw me. Why are we getting notifications about an emergency board meeting? And why? Her voice rose to a shriek. Why does it list you as CEO? I looked at my family, really looked at them, and for the first time, I didn't feel small under their gaze. Because that's what I am, I said calmly, holding up Grandpa's letter. Would you like to read what Grandpa Jack had to say? Dad snatched the letter from my hands, his eyes scanning the pages rapidly. Mom and Sarah crowded around him, their faces growing paler with each line. The wedding guests watched in fascinated silence. This is impossible, Dad whispered, but I could see the recognition in his eyes. He knew it was real. Eagle Ridge Enterprises, all this time, I confirmed, you were just an employee, a manager, just like me. Sarah lunged forward, her finger jabbing at my chest. You planned this. You somehow tricked Grandpa. Sarah, James interrupted, his voice carrying quiet authority. Your grandfather was one of the shrewdest businessmen in 3 states. Are you suggesting he was easily tricked? Or perhaps you think he didn't know exactly what he was doing? She fell silent, but her eyes blazed with fury. The board meeting is Monday at 9 a.m., I continued, straightening my shoulders. I expect everyone to be there. But right now, I smiled at our guests. I'm getting married. You can't do this to me, Sarah suddenly screamed. I'm the CEO. I have contracts, commitments, all of which will be reviewed on Monday. I cut in. Now you can either stay for the wedding as my family or you can leave. Your choice. They left, of course. Mom pausing only to say, you'll regret this, Claire. You're not ready for this responsibility. I watched them go, feeling oddly peaceful. James took my hand and we had our wedding, smaller than planned, but somehow more perfect for all the drama. Our guests couldn't stop talking about what they'd witnessed, and I couldn't stop smiling. Monday morning arrived bright and early. I walked into Montgomery Family Restaurant's headquarters wearing one of my usual work outfits, not designer labels like Sarah's, but professional and practical. The security guard did a double take as I headed for the executive elevator, then scrambled to open it for me. The boardroom was full when I arrived, exactly at 9 a.m. Dad sat in the CEO's chair, Sarah beside him, both pretending the weekend hadn't happened. The board members, mostly Grandpa's old friends, watched with interest as I entered. "You're in my seat, Dad," I said quietly. "Claire, be reasonable," he started, but Mr. Pearson, Grandpa's oldest friend on the board, stood up. "Robert," he said firmly, "I believe you'll find your daughter is correct. We've all reviewed the documentation. Eagle Ridge Enterprises has always held majority ownership, and as of Saturday, Claire is its sole owner. She's our CEO now." The next hour was a blur of paperwork and signatures. Sarah stormed out halfway through, but not before I'd rescinded her executive access and compensation package. Dad sat through it all, his face growing grimmer as each document revealed just how completely he'd misunderstood his position in the company. "Now," I said once the legalities were handled, "let's talk about the company's performance over the past few months." I pulled up a presentation I prepared, showing declining profits, questionable expenses, and customer complaints that had been ignored. Under Sarah's leadership, we've lost 15% of our regular customers. Staff turnover has increased by 40%. 3 of our most profitable locations are operating at a loss. The board members nodded grimly. They'd known things were bad but hadn't had the power to intervene. "Here's my plan to turn things around," I continued, laying out strategies I'd been developing for years. "We're going back to basics: quality food, excellent service, and taking care of our people. Every executive will spend 1 week per quarter working in our restaurants, including me. We're reinstating the employee education program Grandpa started and expanding it." I could see the board members' approval, several of them smiling as I outlined my vision. Even Dad looked surprised by the depth of my understanding. The next few months were intense. I worked harder than ever, spending time in every restaurant, meeting with staff at all levels. James supported me completely, using his tech expertise to help modernize our systems while keeping Grandpa's core values intact. Sarah tried to cause problems, spreading rumors about how I'd stolen the company. But the truth was easy to prove, and her credibility disappeared as the restaurants began to thrive under my leadership. Mom and Dad took longer to come around. They watched from a distance as I implemented changes, as profits began to climb, as employee satisfaction scores rose. Dad still worked for the company. I hadn't fired him because, despite everything, he was good at operations when he wasn't distracted by status and image. The real turning point came 6 months later. I was working the dinner shift at Grandpa's original diner, something I did regularly to stay connected to our roots. When they came in, they sat in their usual booth, looking uncomfortable as I approached with menus. "Welcome to Jack's," I said professionally. "Today's special is Grandpa's famous meatloaf." "Claire," Mom started, then stopped, looking around the busy restaurant. Every table was full. The staff moved with purpose and smiled genuinely, and the atmosphere buzzed with satisfaction. "The place looks good." "It is good," I replied. "All our locations are. Profits are up 25% from last year. Staff turnover is at an all-time low, and we're opening 2 new restaurants next month." Dad cleared his throat. "We were wrong," he said finally. "About you. About everything. Your grandfather. He knew exactly what he was doing." I nodded, feeling the weight of keys in my pocket, the same keys Grandpa had given me when I started as a dishwasher at 14. "He taught me that success isn't about looking important," I said. "It's about being important to your people." "And Sarah?" Mom asked hesitantly. "She's welcome to apply for an entry-level position," I answered. "Same as anyone else. She'll have to work her way up, if she wants to." They nodded slowly, understanding finally settling in. I took their orders and went back to work, leaving them to process how thoroughly their simple daughter had transformed their world. Later that night, after closing, I sat in Grandpa's old office, my office now, looking at his picture on the wall. The letter he'd given me on my wedding day was framed beside it. James brought me a cup of coffee and sat with me, just like he had every night since this journey began. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked. I smiled, touching the frame of Grandpa's picture. Just thinking about how sometimes the best revenge really isn't about getting even. It's about proving them wrong by being exactly who you always were. And who is that? James asked, though he knew the answer. The girl who loved this business enough to start as a dishwasher. The woman who knows every employee's name. The CEO who still works dinner shifts. I stood up, gathering my things. Come on, let's go home. We're hosting the employee scholarship dinner tomorrow, and I want to make Grandpa's famous apple pie for it. As we left, I paused in front of the original diner sign Grandpa had hung in the lobby. Montgomery Family Restaurants at RID, where everyone is family. And finally, after all this time, it really was true. The next morning, I arrived early to find Sarah waiting in the lobby. She looked different, simpler, without her usual expensive clothes and perfect makeup. She held a job application in her hands. I'd like to apply for a server position, she said quietly. If that's okay. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw something I'd never seen before: humility. Training starts Monday at 7 a.m., I said, taking the application. Don't be late. Sometimes family has to fall apart completely before it can be rebuilt into something stronger. And sometimes the person they call simple turns out to be the one who can put it all back together. Grandpa had known that all along, and now finally, so did everyone else.